Hello and welcome to another Outlook cover discussion. We have our editor Chinky Sinha and a very special guest this time in our show, writer, master storyteller, and climate change thinker, Amitav Ghosh. So, like we were talking yesterday, so the cover story, our cover story this time is on the sort of the drastic changes in climate, weather patterns. Particularly this ongoing extreme heat conditions in all over the country, almost in every part, the east, west, south, north, and what we are focused on, what we sort of wanted to bring out is how the worst affected, as always, are the poor and the small farmers, the marginalized people, in the sense that they are the ones, they really don't know why the crop is not ripening or the rains are not coming. Is it the time to sow or reap, or the vegetables are perishing? So we have tried to focus mostly on those people, in the sense that how badly affected they are. It's all right for for us in the cities to say it's very hot and we use our AC and to get into a car, but they're just left to the elements, and it's all our responsibility. We've done it, all of us have done it, and they seem to be bearing the brunt. So that is the focus of the cover.
Basically, I have been wondering also about a lot of stuff where this whole culture of acquisition, which I think you have also spoken about in one of your columns, like we want, like you have talked about these gardens in Dubai or wherever these places, and this whole culture thereof, it kind of creates this huge gap where people don't understand what climate change is. It's not talked about much in terms of our popular literature. We don't study it in schools in that sense, at least I didn't. So we would like to talk to you about that, how climate change is the setting and almost a character in your novels, and why do you do that, and how difficult or challenging it is, and why is it important?
A heat wave is what the theorist Rob Nixon calls slow violence. It's slow. It's violence that sort of unfolds over a long period. So it's actually very difficult to make a story out of a heat wave. And I'm really curious to see what you've done with it. Because I've seen very little persuasive writing about a heat wave. So there's a lot to be really worried about, I think.
Yeah, and about your work per se, like how climate change is that theme in your work, and how do you go about it? Like how difficult, why writers don't really address this?
Yeah, it seems it is not a very attractive thing for creative minds to sort of delve into. I mean, there is it's true. I mean, there is so much about war, there is so much about, say, terrorism, there is so much about various other things, but popular fiction hasn't really, as you're trying to do. Not many people have have attempted this, or is it not? It is something the publishers don't really sort of like.
That's changed a lot, I have to say. Since 2018, there's been a real outpouring of writing about these issues. So, it's not just that writers don't write about it. Writers do write about it, and writers have always written about it. And now more and more writers are writing about it, including Indian writers. Right now, I'm reading a wonderful novel by Janice Parriott, who many of you will know.
Yes.
She's a writer from the Northeast.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful book which very much addresses these issues. Rajat Chaudhary, who's a Calcutta-based writer, has also written about these issues. So many people are, I think, very much waking up to the reality of this. Let's face it. I mean, these are very depressing, terrible things. There's no good message. People keep telling me, they say, "Oh, give us the good news," and I hate to have to tell them there is no good news.
Amitav, this when you read your books or other articles on this subject, there is this alarmist view, and we all feel that it's an impending doom. But when it comes to the state policies or the general public, or nobody really, that urgency seems to be lacking, isn't it? I mean, is really something, I mean, do we have a plan?
Let's face it, the international system has completely collapsed. You can't have, what is it, like 15 nations, including two of the world's largest, like Russia and China, under punitive sanctions, and expect them to cooperate on climate change. You can't tell them that, we're not giving you this, we're not giving you that, and then, but you must come along with us on this. How's that going to happen? It just doesn't make sense. What I would say is that actually what worries me really is that long before the atmosphere or long before the atmosphere starts really messing with us, we are going to see massive socio-political disruptions. In fact, why am I even saying this in a future tense? We are already seeing it. We are seeing the beginning of the great unraveling is what we are seeing.
Absolutely. See, our reporter, for instance, Haima Deshpande, but traveled around Vidarbha area this time, which has recorded some of the highest temperatures, and spoke to a lot of small farmers and the people, how they are coping. I mean, it's, the actually apocalypse is already there. I mean, we are living it, it's like, and yet that's what I mean. It seems like, see, when say a virus attacks, there is a, like say something like COVID happens, there is a kind of a reaction. I mean, we sort of want to fix it, we want to sort of, solve the issue. But in this case, it doesn't seem like anybody is interested really.
And it should be said in Vidarbha, as in a lot of, Western India, the problem isn't just climate change. The problem really is that they followed completely misleading patterns of development, planting very thirsty crops like cotton and so on for over decades, sugarcane, cotton, and basically what is a water scarce region. And we see this across, but even more than climate change, I think the thing that really scares me is the depletion of the Upper Ganga aquifer. With the Upper Ganga aquifer basically feeds 300 million people. I mean, it sprawls under northern India into Pakistan.
I had two questions. One is about this whole development argument, which is always given to you, that, if you don't want people to go, let's say, to Bali Island, or let's say to Goa, for instance, which is again facing the danger of submersion, because there are a lot of these studies that have come. They say that firstly, you're depriving people of these places. Secondly, how to, there's this whole economy dependent on everything, the tourism economy, what will people do, all of that. How do you make sense of that argument? And secondly, this is a different kind of question. It's also this climate change issue has been addressed in, let's say, films. Like we did a whole horror film issue, where they have talked about how when the glaciers melt, all these viruses that are dormant will come about, and the zombie virus will be the most, whatever manifestation of an apocalypse. Is that, is it a correct way to kind of deal with this kind of fear, or do you think the fear is not enough? That's a different strand of thing, like how literature and all these other things deal with these apocalyptic kind of notions of climate change.
Your first question about development, the question is development for whom? I mean, you open up a forest, you shove out the indigenous peoples, you shove out the Adivasis, you send them off somewhere where they live absolutely dreadful lives, because their lives are completely mixed up with the forest. They are forest people. They are people who actually maintained this forest. This is what is happening right now in Hasdewaran. It's happened across India for the last couple of decades. These big corporates move in, they shove out the forest dwellers who actually maintain the forest. Then they extract the resources. Now, who actually profits from this development? It's a tiny clique of mine owners. As for the, 1 million people are shoved out, for them, is that development? What is it? You look at uranium mining in Meghalaya, how much, I mean, people are just dying,
Yeah.
you know, from the effects of radioactivity. Nobody even talks about it. So is that development? What is it? It's a crazy thing, you know, it's absolutely crazy. You shove the Adivasis out of a forest and then you open it up to who? You open it up to middle class urbanites and you open it up to the tourism industry. What is that? It's ethnic cleansing is what it is. This is what happened in many parts of Africa, ethnic cleansing, essentially sponsored by big green organizations. And it's happening now. And are you going to tell me that putting up huge resorts in the middle of a forest is somehow ecologically a viable thing? It's complete madness.
Are they not afraid? Where is the fear?
Yeah, well, the fear is now in all our hearts. You know, I think in all our hearts, we know the game's up. I think it's a mistake to see climate change as the cause, you know, because that's not what it is. Actually, climate change, the viruses, the agricultural crisis, the water crisis, all of these are just symptoms. All of them are symptoms of the same thing, which is the continuous acceleration in consumption, in production, and communication that's been going on for the last several decades, what we call development, if you like.
How do we stop this? Can we? Is it consumerism? Is it capitalism? Is it mindless? Like the whole chase of everything, you know?
I wish I had an answer. Unfortunately, your answer is as good as mine.
You know, Amitav, the other thing that you know, you do emphasize in your writing, in your you know, books, in say, you know, Gun Island and other books, you know, the interconnectedness of things. You know, what may be happening in Sundarbans, you know, has an impact in Venice. You know, so I mean, this. So it's not as if you know, as Chinky is saying, you know, a forest is being destroyed in Goa to make a resort. You know, its impact could be, I mean, we probably can't even imagine who's going to suffer where, you know. So this again is, I feel that it's something that, I mean, it's not maybe understood properly, or people don't realize this. And I mean, as she's saying, you know, the fear is not there because we think that, okay, what's the big deal in cutting 10 trees and making a house?
Yes, actually, I have a new book out actually today. And please, since I've given you this interview, you must let me show you the book, okay?
Yes,
I'll take a minute. So here it is. It's called The Living Mountain.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's coming out both.
Many congratulations. Looks marvelous.
It's actually really beautiful. HarperCollins have done an incredible job on it. It's a very short book, actually, just a thousand words. I was invited to write you know, a short piece on the Anthropocene for an anthology with you know, many experts and so on. And I thought, what shall I write? And I finally ended up writing a story.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.